When I said, "Walk out that door, and you won't walk back in," I meant every syllable. But Ashley, my wife of 7 years, just smirked, flicked her hair over her shoulder like a spoiled prom queen, and strutted out in heels I paid for. A Louis Vuitton bag swinging on her arm, packed for a weekend with her ex. Her ex. Let that word ferment for a second. I didn't scream, didn't throw a glass or beg her to stay. I stood there barefoot on the cold marble, gripping the edge of the kitchen island like it was the only thing anchoring me to reality. My jaw was locked so tight, I felt my teeth grind. "You'll regret this," I told her. She didn't even turn around. Just laughed, like I was a joke. That was the last time I saw her face in my house. Now, rewind just 24 hours. Thanksgiving had just passed, and we hadn't spoken much during dinner. Ashley said she was tired, maybe getting the flu. She spent the night on the couch, watching a documentary, and I let it go, even though her phone never left her hand. Her eyes lit up at every notification, and she smiled the kind of smile I hadn't seen in months. She smelled different that week. Her new perfume strong, floral, almost too sweet. Her wardrobe changed too, skirts tighter, tops lower. When I mentioned it, she said, "So now I can't look good for myself?" That was Ashley lately. Always defensive. Always with that tone like I'd insulted her simply by breathing in the same room. We used to be a team. I built my marketing firm from scratch, and she was there in the early days, helping with admin work, late nights, sandwiches at my desk. But once the money came in, once the vacation started, once she saw what a platinum card could do, something in her changed. The sparkle in her eyes wasn't for me anymore. It was for what I gave her. And that sparkle reignited the day Derek came back. High school flame turned. He's just a friend now. Muscles, tattoos, fake charm that I could smell through the phone when she giggled reading his texts. He was recently divorced and suddenly helping her with a podcast idea she never had before. They'd meet, just for coffee. She even invited him to our charity gala, claimed it was for networking. I noticed the way her voice dipped when she said his name. I noticed the way she always had to step outside to answer certain calls. I knew. I think I always did. But love can be a blinding, stupid thing. And yet, I didn't confront her. Not then. Because I wanted her to think I was still in the fog. I wanted to see how far she'd go. People always tell you to get angry, to stand up and shout. But silence? That scares them more. The moment came faster than I expected. Friday morning, she walked into the kitchen in a tight beige dress that barely covered anything, sunglasses already on her head, phone glued to her palm. I asked where she was going. "Weekend yoga retreat," she said. "Don't wait up." I didn't even blink. I just leaned against the fridge, arms folded, and said, "If you walk out that door, Ashley, you're not walking back in." She paused. That was the moment. That 3-second window where she could have chosen us, chosen truth. But she didn't. She gave me that smirk, the one she used to give to strangers at bars before we were married. That, "I get what I want" smirk. She turned around, strutted to the front door, and slammed it behind her. And just like that, my house felt cleaner. Colder, but clearer. I poured myself a scotch at 10 a.m. and watched the cameras I had installed 2 weeks ago. One outside, one in the garage, one, without her knowledge, in the guest bedroom she started spending too many nights in. The camera didn't lie. She wasn't going to yoga. She was picked up in a brand new matte black Range Rover, driven by Derek. And when she leaned into him across the console and kissed him like I hadn't existed for years, I smiled for the first time in weeks. She was gone, but I was just getting started. That weekend, while Ashley vanished into her fantasy, I began mine. I wasn't going to chase. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to destroy, quietly, methodically, legally. Because when a woman spits on loyalty and a man stays calm, that man is dangerous. I opened the drawer in my home office where I had been gathering files for the last 3 weeks, bank statements, messages I'd pulled off her cloud backup, hotel receipts, even a screenshot of her booking 2 first-class tickets to Miami under a fake name, mine and hers. But the companion? It wasn't me. Derek had apparently become Liam Haynes for the trip. Amateur. The camera in the guest bedroom had caught their last meeting. The way she laughed in her robe, hair messy, no shame. She told him, he's still clueless. Thinks I'm asleep. The old fool even made me breakfast this morning. Derek laughed like a hyena. Then he touched her. The kind of touch I hadn't seen since our honeymoon. I didn't save the footage. I didn't need to. I saved the audio. I sent it to my lawyer. Now here's what most men do at this point. They fall apart. I didn't. I got sharper. I called my accountant and had him lock all shared credit cards. Froze the joint account. Changed the locks. Had her Mercedes, which I was still making payments on, towed back to the dealership. Revoked her authorized access to my business. Then, I made reservations for one. Dinner. Downtown. Italian place. Candlelight and violins and an empty seat across from me. I needed that. Closure. Until halfway through the meal, my phone buzzed. Ashley. Flight delayed. We'll be back tomorrow. Miss me yet? I stared at that message like it was a joke. Not even hiding it now. We. Her and Derek. Her new world. So I replied. Me. I hope he's worth everything. She didn't answer. Sunday evening rolled around. Rain hammered the roof like a warning. I sat in the living room with the fireplace crackling low and my divorce papers ready on the coffee table. The doorbell rang. She was soaking wet. Mascara smudged. Hair a mess. No Range Rover in sight. Just a cab behind her driving off into the dark. Aaron, she started. I didn't move. I didn't even stand. I didn't think you were serious, she said. About not letting me back in. I looked her dead in the eye. I was. She scoffed, like she couldn't believe it. Don't be dramatic. I needed space. You've been distant for months. I laughed. Not loud, just enough. Don't twist this, I said. You disrespected our vows. And now? You're homeless. She stepped forward. Please, Aaron, we made mistakes. But I still do. No, I interrupted, standing now, pointing to the suitcase at her feet. You made mistakes. I made plans. Her eyes flicked to the coffee table. She saw the papers. Her mouth parted slightly. I'll fight this, she whispered. You already lost, I said, walking to the door. Good luck with Derek. He'll get bored when your looks stop making up for your lies. I opened the door. Cold wind blew in, and I watched her step back, eyes wide, lips trembling, but she didn't move forward. She knew. This wasn't a game. She walked down the driveway into the dark. That was the last time she stepped on my property. She thought leaving was power, but I was the one who stayed behind and burned everything to the ground without lifting a finger. The next morning, the silence in the house was louder than any fight we ever had. No perfume clouding the bathroom. No passive-aggressive clanking of coffee mugs. No lies disguised as girls' brunch. Just peace. And the distant hum of justice warming up. At exactly 9:01 a.m., my attorney, Jenna Walsh, called. Sharp voice, sharper mind. She got served this morning? I asked. She sure did, Jenna replied. At her gym, actually. In front of a full yoga class. I let out a short breath. Good. She tried to claim emotional harassment, Jenna added. But when she realized you've got hotel footage, voice recordings, and financial proof of fraud on joint accounts. She shut up, I finished for her. Like a slammed door. I smirked. For the first time in weeks, I felt like myself again. Not the husband walking on eggshells. Not the idiot trying to fix a woman who didn't want to be fixed. Just me, Aaron Clark, owner of Clark & Rich. Respected. Feared. Unapologetic. The only downside was my mother. She called around noon. Aaron, sweetheart, she's still your wife. Maybe. No, Mom, I cut her off. She was my wife. Now she's just another woman who made a bet and lost. That night, I checked her social media. Nothing. Her usual daily dose of curated bliss was gone. No beach pics. No love quotes. No overpriced wine selfies. I checked Derek's too. His latest story? Deleted, but cached on Google. A poolside shot, her legs draped over his lap. Caption: Paradise gets better with company. Funny how paradise turns into a nightmare when the card stops swiping. Tuesday morning, my front desk girl at the firm buzzed me. Aaron? Your wife is here. Ex-wife. Send her in, I said calmly. Ashley walked in looking like hell wrapped in Chanel. Hair unbrushed, makeup halfway done, like she got ready in the back seat of someone else's regret. You froze everything, she spat, slamming her hand on my desk. Yes, I said. I can't even buy a coffee. Sounds like a Derek problem. She laughed bitterly. He's gone. Oh. I tilted my head, not even pretending to care. Already. She didn't answer. Just stood there, nostrils flaring. Do you know what you're doing? I do, I replied. Do you? She took a step back. We can fix this. You lied, Ashley, I said, rising. You cheated. You disrespected me in front of my friends, my staff, your own family. And now, what? You want to patch it up because the other guy ran out of gas. She tried to cry, but the tears felt forced. They weren't the kind that come from remorse. They were the kind that come from consequences. You said I wouldn't walk back in, she whispered. But here I am. And this, I said, pointing to the office floor, isn't my home. She looked around, defeated. So that's it. I walked around the desk and opened the door. That's it. As she walked past me, I could smell the perfume again. But now, it reeked of desperation. That evening, I poured myself a glass of whiskey and scrolled through my emails. One caught my eye, an invitation to a business gala. The kind Ashley used to love. Fancy dresses, spotlights, photos. I RSVP'd for one. She chose a man who offered escape. I chose freedom. She gambled my love for a weekend of illusion. I bet on myself, and I was collecting the winnings. The gala was held at the Grand Lorrington, an old-money venue with crystal chandeliers and marble floors polished enough to reflect every regret in a cheater's eyes. I arrived in a tailored charcoal suit, no tie, confident, clean, unburdened. The valet took my car, the doorman greeted me by name, and for the first time in years, I walked into a room without carrying someone else's weight. It didn't take long for the whispers to start. Aaron's here solo? Where's his wife? I heard she ran off with some loser. I didn't flinch. I let them talk. Because while they gossiped, I smiled, shook hands, and owned the damn room. Power doesn't need to shout. It moves in silence, and tonight, I was the loudest man in that ballroom. That's when I saw her. Ashley. Across the floor. Hair curled to perfection, makeup layered like armor. Wearing the black dress, the one I bought her for our anniversary in Santorini. And on her arm? No one. Derek must have dropped her before dessert. She froze when she saw me. I didn't stop walking. Didn't slow down. Just let my eyes graze past her like she was furniture. Outdated, overpriced, unnecessary. But she couldn't let it go. She followed me. Aaron, she said from behind me. Wait. I turned, cool as ice. Ashley, I didn't know you'd be here. It's a public event, I said. Not a therapist's office. Her lips pressed together. I'm trying to talk. So talk. She hesitated, glanced around to see who was watching. You really won't even hear me out? I stepped closer, not too close, just enough for her to feel the finality in my tone. I warned you, Ashley. I gave you a clear choice. You thought I was bluffing. You walked out that door because you believed I'd chase you. She blinked. You didn't. No, I said. I didn't. I turned and started walking again. But this time, she followed like a stray. Aaron, please, Derek's not who I thought he was. I spun around. And who am I, Ashley? The man who paid for your education? The one who built you a life? The one who stayed faithful while you ran off chasing high school nostalgia? Her eyes welled up. I made a mistake. No, I said firmly. You made a decision. Silence. For once, she didn't have a comeback. I don't need your apology, I added. I don't need closure. I don't even need revenge. Because the best part of this story? You did it to yourself. You lit the match and thought you'd only burn me. I didn't expect you to move on so fast, she muttered. I didn't move on fast, I said. I moved on right. As I walked away for the second time, she stood there alone, surrounded by people in gowns and tuxedos, but suddenly more invisible than ever. Later that night, I sat in the back of my car, jacket loosened, a soft jazz playlist humming in the background. My assistant had sent me a file, something I didn't ask for but now couldn't stop watching. It was Ashley. She'd made a desperate attempt to post on social media again. A cryptic caption about learning lessons and growing through pain. Comments were brutal. Even her old friends weren't buying it. The illusion had shattered. The mask cracked. That night, I slept better than I had in months. No guilt. No questions. Just clarity. She gave up a kingdom for a weekend in a rented paradise. Now, she had to live with the ruins. The following week brought a strange stillness. No angry texts. No voice messages at 2 a.m. No dramatic email subject lines like, we need to talk, or, you're being heartless. Just silence. I assumed Ashley had finally understood. That the door she walked out of wouldn't just swing open the second her fantasy world fell apart. But people like her, they don't learn. They panic. They plot. And sure enough, by Thursday, the games resumed. I got a call from Jenna, my lawyer. Ashley's trying to contest the prenup, she said flatly. She's claiming emotional manipulation and financial entrapment. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud in my office. Entrapment? She's the one who flew off with another man like it was a girls' weekend. Her argument's weak, Jenna assured. But it's not about winning. It's about stalling. She's bleeding. She wants time. Time. That's what I gave her before. Too much of it. I used to think time could fix everything. That if I just waited, if I just loved harder, she'd come back to me emotionally. But now I saw the truth: time doesn't fix betrayal. It only magnifies the cost. Still, I needed a distraction. So I called up someone unexpected. Her name was Camille. We'd crossed paths at a previous gala months ago. Ashley had rolled her eyes at her, called her too try-hard. I remembered Camille laughing that off and telling me, "Some people hate mirrors." She picked up on the first ring. "Aaron Clark," she said with a smile in her voice. "Thought you disappeared." "Only from bad company," I replied. "Feel like dinner?" "Thought you'd never ask." We met that evening at a rooftop place overlooking the city. Warm lights, soft breeze, and a different kind of presence across from me. Camille didn't need to pretend. She didn't play games. She didn't scroll through her phone mid-conversation or talk about self-love while expecting someone else to fund it. And best of all, she didn't mention Ashley. Not once. That dinner was the first time I felt seen in a long while. Not as a provider. Not as a backup plan. Just as me. After she left in her own car, she texted me, "Next time, you're picking dessert. You're already good at picking wine." Simple. Direct. No manipulation. No hidden agenda. That night, I slept with a calm heart. And that's exactly why the storm returned the next morning. Ashley showed up at my office. No appointment. No warning. Just walked in past my assistant like she still had a badge to this life. "You're seeing someone else now," she hissed, ignoring everyone in the hallway staring at her meltdown. I stood up slowly from behind my desk, stepped around it, and said, "That's none of your business." "Are you serious, Aaron? After everything we've been through?" I held her gaze. "Everything we've been through?" "Ashley, you walked out. You made your choice. You torched this marriage. I'm just planting something new in the ashes." Tears welled up in her eyes, but not the kind that made me feel anything anymore. They weren't sadness. They were rage. The rage of a woman who thought she could have it all, and now had nothing. "You think this is over?" she spat. "No," I said calmly. "I know it is." She stared at me for a moment, expecting me to break, to reach for her, to say one more time. But I didn't. I turned around and walked back into my office. I heard the front door slam behind her a second later. I didn't flinch. Because peace doesn't come when you get even. It comes when you no longer care if you do. The slam of the door didn't echo long. It was swallowed by the calm I'd built around me. Ashley's tantrum was just static noise now. She could rage, cry, manipulate, and scream in all caps, but none of it mattered anymore. I was past the heartbreak, past the betrayal. What I felt now was something deeper, sharper, a kind of clean detachment that doesn't come from revenge, but from evolution. When a man survives betrayal, he doesn't come back the same. He either breaks, or he becomes bulletproof. I became the latter. That weekend, I flew out to Denver for a business conference. I could have sent someone in my place, but I wanted out of the city for a while. New air, new people, new eyes. Camille texted while I was boarding. "Don't forget to charm the boardroom. And maybe smile a little." I sent her a photo from my seat, smirk in place, glass of champagne raised. "Already ahead of you." The trip was smooth, productive, profitable. I closed a deal we'd been chasing for 8 months. But more than that, I felt grounded. Like the version of me before Ashley had come back, but better, less naive, more precise. It wasn't until I landed that I saw the bombshell waiting in my inbox. Subject: emergency, urgent legal notice. Ashley was suing me. Not just contesting the prenup, but accusing me of infidelity. I blinked, laughed, rubbed my temples. The irony was almost poetic. The woman who disappeared with her ex was now trying to paint me as the cheater. I called Jenna. She was already one step ahead. "We'll bury this," she said. "I've already subpoenaed the hotel footage, plus the text you saved." She's panicking. This is desperation. And she was right. That same day, Ashley tried to contact Camille. She messaged her on Instagram with a fake nicety, pretending she wanted to talk woman to woman. Camille sent me the screenshot with a single word: classy. Ashley was unraveling. Fast. And messy. The next morning, I made a choice. No more defense. No more reaction. It was time to take the wheel. I called a journalist I knew. Not for scandal. Not for revenge. But for clarity. A profile piece on Clark and Ridge was in development, something we'd planned long before this mess. But now, I made sure the narrative was mine. Clean. Strong. Clear. And Ashley? She wasn't mentioned once. Because irrelevance is the cruelest punishment of all. Days passed, then a week, and something strange happened. I didn't think about her anymore. Not when I made coffee. Not when I came home. Not when I passed the store where we used to argue about candles. She became background noise. Until one afternoon, while reviewing quarterly numbers, my assistant walked in holding a large envelope. "This came for you," hand-delivered. Inside, a letter. No name. No greeting. Just a single sentence. "I didn't believe you'd let me go." No signature. No apology. Just that. I folded it and dropped it in the shredder. Because belief has nothing to do with it. She didn't believe I'd shut the door. She didn't believe I'd heal. She didn't believe I'd rise. But I did. And when you stop needing someone to believe in you, that's when they finally do. The shredder hummed for a few seconds, then went silent, just like her. No more letters. No more threats. No more social media posts disguised as cries for attention. The storm had passed, and what was left wasn't debris. It was clarity. I spent the next few weeks reclaiming everything that once felt diluted. My mornings. My mindset. My identity. Ashley had taken up so much space in my life that even when she wasn't physically there, her absence had a weight to it. But now, it was like she'd never existed at all. Camille and I grew closer. It wasn't love, not yet. But it was honest. And that was something I hadn't had in years. We met for dinners without tension. Laughed without walking on glass. Talked without decoding each other's tone. One night over sushi, she asked, "Do you ever miss her?" I took a sip of sake before answering. "No. I miss who I thought she was. But not the real version. That woman? I don't even recognize her anymore." Camille nodded. "Then you're already ahead of most people." I appreciated that she didn't push. She never made me feel like I had to erase my past, just understand it. But peace never stays untouched, does it? One Monday morning, Jenna called. "You're not going to like this." "What now?" I asked, already feeling the familiar pressure behind my eyes. "She filed for emergency financial relief. She's claiming you're withholding funds and that she's facing emotional and financial devastation." Let me guess, Derek bailed again? She didn't list him anywhere. But there's something else. I leaned forward. "What?" "She's pregnant." My world paused. Just for a moment. Pregnant? With his child? "Is it mine?" I asked out loud, already knowing the answer. "She's claiming it could be," Jenna replied. "But the timeline doesn't support that unless she's part camel and carried it for 12 months. I didn't know whether to laugh or punch a wall. "She's using it to trigger a delay in court," Jenna said. "But it won't stick. I've got everything lined up. Medical records, timestamps, security footage, even the messages between her and Derek." The word pregnant kept echoing in my head, but not with grief. Not with jealousy. With relief. Because it meant she was tethered now. To a new life. A new man. A new mess. And I was free. By Friday, everything started shifting in my favor. The judge tossed out her claims. The prenup was upheld. I kept the house, the car, the business, the investments. Ashley? She got her last name back. But it wasn't enough. Later that month, I got a call from a blocked number. I never answer those. But something told me to pick up. "Hello," I said. There was a pause. Then her voice. Fragile. Quiet. "Aaron. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't say anything." She took a breath. "You were right. About everything. I should have listened. I should have." I hung up. Not out of anger. Not out of pride. Out of peace. Because I didn't need her apology. I didn't need her regret. I already had the one thing she could never fake, myself. And when you finally choose you over the person who shattered you, that's when the healing begins. The final chapter didn't come with fireworks. No courtroom finale. No public shaming. Just a quiet morning where I stood by the window, coffee in hand, and realized I no longer felt anything when I thought of her name. Not anger. Not sadness. Not vengeance. Just nothing. And that's what true closure is. Not a dramatic ending, but indifference. A healed silence where the wound used to scream. That week, the divorce was finalized. It came in a manila envelope from Jenna's office with a simple sticky note. "It's over. Officially. Congratulations." No confetti. No champagne. But I smiled anyway. A deep, private smile. The kind that comes from surviving something designed to break you. I walked to my fire pit that evening. Tossed the final remnants into the flames, our wedding photo, a love letter she once wrote during simpler days, and a tiny keychain she got me in Paris, the one that used to mean everything. The flames didn't roar. They just consumed. And I watched every lie burn into ash. Later that night, Camille came over. She didn't ask questions. Just curled beside me on the couch with a book in her lap and her hand resting on my chest like a silent anchor. That was the first time I truly exhaled. Not because someone loved me again, but because I learned to love myself. A month passed. Then two. I started traveling again, real travel, not just for work. I went to Iceland alone, stood on black sand beaches, watched the northern lights swirl over my head. And somewhere between the silence of the glaciers and the crackling fire in my rental cabin, it hit me. Ashley didn't ruin me. She revealed me. She showed me where I was bleeding, where I was bending too much, giving too much, forgiving too often, hoping too blindly. She cracked the surface and exposed everything I had neglected in the name of us. But there was no us. There was just me and the illusion. And now that the illusion was dead, I was alive. I started mentoring younger entrepreneurs, spoke at a few conferences, shared my story, not the scandal, not the gossip, but the rebirth, the rebuilding, how to come back stronger, sharper, smarter. And during one of those speeches, a young guy approached me after. Man, I just got out of something brutal. She cheated, lied, took half my stuff. I don't even know who I am anymore. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, good, because now you get to decide who you want to be. And no one else gets a vote. That's what I'd tell anyone now. Don't waste time trying to fix someone who's already decided to break you. Don't wait for closure from the same hands that caused your pain. And don't ever confuse staying silent with weakness. Sometimes, walking away is the loudest thing you'll ever do. Ashley? She disappeared from the headlines, from the whispers, from relevance. I heard through someone she moved 2 states over. Tried to start a coaching business. Still chasing validation like air. Still clinging to youth in a world that no longer applauds her games. But me? I'm here. Standing taller. Breathing deeper. Laughing harder. And not once have I looked back. Because when she walked out that door, she thought she was choosing freedom. But I was the one set free.